You're watching Talking Points, a focus on the political scene in Lubbock and across the South Plains.
Welcome back. Here's a look at some of the big headlines from the week. Lubbock County Judge Curtis Parrish is now among those who have tested positive for coronavirus. Judge Parrish was tested Thursday morning prior to meeting with Governor Abbott. He tells us he wasn't feeling any symptoms of the virus, but says he'll follow all the CDC guidelines and work from home until he's cleared by doctors. And after a week-long audit, the state of Georgia has officially certified President-elect Joe Biden as the winner of the state's 16 electoral college votes. The Secretary of State says there is no evidence of any widespread ballot irregularities. The 2020 election is over, well, at least in Lubbock so far, and one of those folks who will keep their job is Lubbock County Sheriff Kelly Rowe, who ran unopposed this time around. I got a chance to talk with him one-on-one, who says he's honored to serve another 4 years.
You just won re-election to be Lubbock County Sheriff again. You did not have an opponent this time around, but the citizens decided you were the man that needed to continue on as sheriff. What's your first reaction to that?
Well, first, I can't express my gratitude enough to the citizens, of Lubbock County for their trust, not only in me, but more importantly, the sheriff's office and the men and women of the sheriff's office who do the tough work every day.
What are your plans for this next term as sheriff?
Well, I think the biggest thing we see on the horizon is we've got to look at ensuring that we have the capacity for the entire criminal justice system. In other words, Lubbock has grown. Law enforcement has grown tremendously, not just within the sheriff's office, but all our local area law enforcement. And, we need to be looking at whether or not we've truly got the capacity to handle this, this new growth. And that can take a number of different forms, but, primarily we want to look at, do we have enough court capacity? Does the district attorney's office have what they need? Do we have to talk about at some point potential jail expansion? That always comes too with these. And so we want to make sure we're looking at this, holistically, so that we can make the best decisions and most cost-effective decisions to ensure we're still getting things done that we need to within that system.
Something that we hear a lot from Chief Mitchell on the police side is that he wants more officers. He's going to keep getting as many officers as he wants, because he feels like there should be at least 2 police officers for every, I believe, 1,000 citizens in the city of Lubbock. Of course, that's a city, county-wise, a little bit different operation. Is that something that you want to do, want to have more deputies, more men and women on the street? Is that your plan, or are you satisfied with what you got so far?
Well, ever since I've taken office, I have set us into 5-year strategic plan segments. So we look at, what do our numbers look like with regard to that? And so, again, we've just started a new 5-year plan. There are some potential personnel adds that will come within that. I think, as everyone knows, our most significant items, for budget this year were regarding, salaries and getting pay increases done to keep us competitive with some of our area law enforcement, so that we can, stem some of the losses we've been taking to these other agencies. But in terms of personnel, again, we look at some very specific metrics on that. And when one of those in particular is called response time. And when those things start creeping up, is when we look at adding, particularly patrol personnel. And when you add patrol, and that's a domino, you're going to typically be looking at more investigators and other things. But, the primary thing I go back to was your first question, which is, with what we've got going now with the activity, particularly with regard to narcotics that our HIDA and our Texas Anti-Gang Center is working on, is, like I said, ensuring that we're not at a point that the jail is going to be getting overcrowded anytime soon, and that we can get these people through the process.
Let's talk about COVID-19. How has it affected the sheriff's office? Have you had a lot of deputies out? Have your men and women, have they really been okay? And then on top of that, too, how has COVID-19 looked in the jail?
I don't know exactly which adjective to use with regard to COVID-19. If good is the right one, but let me kind of break it down for you just a little bit. So on the law enforcement side, we've fortunately, we haven't had anybody get significantly ill as a result of it. We've certainly seen a fairly extensive number of quarantines that have needed to be done because of potential secondary contacts and those types of things that have had some personnel impacts, but nothing that hasn't been too insurmountable. As far as the detention side goes, and again, I always say, one thing is with an effective, detention operation, infectious disease is something that we manage and have to manage each and every day. So, although we waited until July 1st to actually have the first positive case of COVID occur in there, and we had, of course, an initial spike once that started. Typically, and I get the numbers every morning of what's going on, that's fallen back to, generally speaking, anywhere from about maybe 2 to 5 that are currently positive, with about as many that they're monitoring. We haven't had any inmates have any significant health issues as a result of it, which is, I think, a testament to our medical staff and their ability to take care of it.
On top of COVID-19, we've also seen this summer, excuse me, of a lot of unrest, a lot of tension as it comes to racial reckoning in this country. Really got kicked off with the deaths of Ahmaud Arbery, and then of the video that we saw of the killing of George Floyd, and it went on and on throughout the summer and protests. And we also saw riots, and we saw these things as kind of police versus, excuse me, citizens and things like that. Just, and as honest as you can, just talk about what you've seen and your, I guess, reaction to that. And what do you think as a country from both sides, what can we do?
Well, goodness, I might keep you here all afternoon if we start really delving off into what to do to solve it. First, let me just say again, we are all so fortunate to be here in Lubbock, Texas, because, a lot of these things we haven't seen to the extremes as a lot of the major cities have. To me, anytime we're dealing with a critical incident, and, these types of events have happened since I started in this career. I started in right on the heels of the Rodney King incident that took place, back in the very early 90s. And, and again, with the necessity for the trust, the public trust in law enforcement, given the authority that they have, this is something that we've seen ebb and flow. And what has changed, I think, from then to now is the way in which people view it, see it. Now, social media, in particular, news media reporting on these things. And, my cautionary tale to everybody, and I will certainly say, if an officer does something, they need to be held accountable for it. If they violate their policies, if they violate an individual's civil rights, and most importantly, if they violate the law, they need to be held accountable just like anybody else should. The one thing I would hope, and I think the only way we get to a point that we can ease some of this, is that we do have to have an understanding that these things take time to investigate, and people need to let these things run that course, get all of the facts, not be prepared to react to either just a short video segment or a short story, that's out there that, is missing, the bulk of the actual information of the individuals that were involved specifically in it. Because again, you hit it on the head. This is one of the things that concerns me the most. Seeing what it's doing to our community, seeing what it's doing to our country, the division that it's creating is really problematic. And we have got to slow some of this down before it gets away from us, because I don't care where we're talking about, what state, what city, whatever the case might be. Law enforcement is a limited, a limited number of people that are qualified to even do the job.